37-year-old Dennis Hecker grew up in Englewood, one of the most dangerous neighborhoods on Chicago's South Side.
Being an inner city kid and growing up in Englewood, you see a lot of things that you would like to change.
That desire to change Englewood and other violent neighborhoods motivated Hecker to leave his 15-year career in telecommunications to join the Chicago Police Department. He's among hundreds of recruits training at the police academy. Hecker's hope is to help make the city safer and police officers more trusted for children like his own.
I have 2 kids. To make sure that the city was safe for them. As you know, it's a lot of conflict between law enforcement and the community. Just to try and bridge the gap in between that, the best way to make a difference is to be part of the difference.
Hecker is among the 1,000 new officers the Chicago Police Department plans to hire during the next 2 years. In addition to getting more police on the streets, the city is looking to attract more minority candidates, such as Hecker, to diversify its police force. According to a Police Accountability Task Force report, in 2014, the Chicago Police Department was 52% white, 23% black, and 22% Hispanic. To close the racial gap, last fall the city announced its Be the Change campaign. It brings more recruiting events like this one at Kennedy King College on the South Side to primarily African American and Latino communities.
Our diversity as a city is a strength, and having a diverse workforce of a police department is a strength.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning, sir. Mayor Emanuel launched the aggressive recruitment efforts last year after 762 people were killed and 4,300 shot, the most violent year since the 1990s. The city hopes hiring more minority officers will help improve relationships in communities where trust of the CPD is low. Kevin Brooks, pastor of Greater St. John African Methodist Church in Englewood, supports the city's initiative.
This campaign will be successful because it engages black and brown men and women to take ownership back into their community. It gives them an opportunity to police their own families, their own neighborhoods, because they know the ills of the community and they know the challenges of the community.
One key goal is that Chicago police better reflect the racial makeup of the neighborhoods they patrol. Last April, Emanuel's Police Accountability Task Force released a scathing report claiming that the police department had little regard for the lives of minorities. That finding, along with the Justice Department investigation, have increased the pressure to diversify. But some city officials have questioned whether adding 1,000 officers in 2 years will be feasible. Applicants have to go through rigorous written, physical, and psychological exams, as well as 6 months of academy and field training, and only 1 in 100 successfully completes the process. Bill Ruthhart, City Hall reporter for the Chicago Tribune, says some aldermen consider Mayor Emanuel's plan too ambitious.
Some aldermen are wary of whether this is actually going to get done. The Emanuel administration's had difficulty keeping up with attrition throughout the 5 years he's been in office. We did an investigation a few months ago that found that the department's down some 600 officers since Emanuel took office, which is about a 5% drop. If you count the last few months of Mayor Richard Daley's administration, we're down 1,000 officers since 2011. So even if you add this 1,000, you're really just about back to where we were 5 years ago.
We sat down with Chicago Police Superintendent Eddie Johnson in his office to hear his thoughts on the recruitment drive. In a city with more than 700 murders last year, more than 4,000 people getting shot, how do you attract qualified candidates to become police officers?
Well, you know what? I think that most people look at the profession of law enforcement, and one thing that I want them to know, there's probably not a more noble profession that you can choose. And the rewards when you see the positive effects you have on people's lives is enough right there to want to join.
Do you still get enthusiastic candidates in spite of all the problems going on in Chicago?
Absolutely. You know, people want to be a part of change. People want to see our city safer. They want it to be the best big city in the country. So they are eager to join up to get us to that point.
Alderman Ed Burke has proposed that the police department allow recruits who have minor criminal violations, maybe minor drug offenses. Is that a good idea, and will it increase the pool of applicants for you?
Well, it would probably increase the pool. I mean, I think that that's pretty cut and dry. But you know, we'll look at it, take a look at it, because we have to be careful about who we relax the rules for. But I do believe there is some value in it. If a kid makes a mistake when they're 16 or 17 years old, and now they're 25, 26, and they've matured, I think that we should take that into consideration.
You mentioned getting police officers who look more like the neighborhoods. How do you do that? How do you get police officers who are reflecting the racial and ethnic composition of Chicago?
I think just by going out into those communities and just expressing our desire to have them become applicants. A few entry exams ago, we thought we had the formula to attract diverse population, and we found out that we didn't. So we went back to the drawing board and we figured out what we did wrong. So the entry exam prior to this one, we had 71% minorities apply. So I think we continue down that road, just keep going out in those communities, trying to impress upon people. If you want to be part of change, this is the time to do it.
Obviously, the police department's reputation took a hit during the Laquan McDonald crisis. What are you doing with the new recruits at the academy at the very beginning to change the culture of the Chicago Police Department?
That's an excellent question. So one of the things that I'm very proud of is now when the recruits go through the training cycle, we partner them up with inner city high school kids and do what's called peace circles. And in that way, two things happen. The police officers can get to see those kids as people, and they discover that just because they live in a complex neighborhood, that they're not all bad kids. The second part of that, though, is that it lets those kids see those officers as people too. So it works both ways. So I think that doing things like that and expanding on that will go a long way to break down some of the cultural biases.
In the political realm, we've just seen the president-elect of the United States, of course, in a tweet, suggest that if Chicago's violence isn't getting better, maybe the mayor should ask for federal help. I'm not exactly sure what that means, but is Chicago at the point where it needs to be waving its hand at Washington and saying, help us?
Well, I mean, I think that we can use federal help like funding for mental health treatment, funding for more jobs, funding to kind of support some of these impoverished neighborhoods. So if we can get that type of help, we'd be well receiving of it.
I think some people reading that tweet or hearing about it might imagine federal agents, FBI, ATF, or whatever federal agents on the streets of Chicago.
Well, you know what? We already partner with FBI, DEA, ATF, and as a matter of fact, you'll see them out there sometimes partnered up with CPD officers. So that is already happening. Can we expand it? Sure, we could.
You share something with your predecessor, Superintendent McCarthy. You both have called for getting repeat gun offenders longer sentences. Historically in Chicago, there's been resistance to that from some African American leaders because they don't want to see more young black men in prison. What do you say to them? What is your argument to
Well,
them?
listen, I'm like this. If you pick up a gun, you pull that trigger and you shoot somebody, it shouldn't matter how you rap. If you decide to do that, then you should be held accountable. And if that means going to prison, then you should go to prison. We just cannot tolerate as a city people out here repeatedly coming out here shooting people and killing people. That's unacceptable. So if you're a leader in this city and you think that 700 homicides last year was okay, then you shouldn't be a leader in this city.
As we go into this new year after a pretty violent 2016, what assurances can you give Chicago that we're going to see a reduction in shootings and in murders?
So listen, it takes all of us to reduce this violence. The police, our legislators, our clergy, our elected officials, and the community play an important part in that. And I guarantee you, if we get the legislation that we're looking for and the community's involvement, and that goes with the public trust that they have in the police department, then we'll see a reduction in this violent crime out here.
Superintendent Eddie Johnson, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you for having me.
We appreciate it.